magical teleporting dog. It's Murphy. He's a cute and curly golden demigod. You're such a good dog. Good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog. You're such a good dog. Good dog, good dog,
Born in the smoke where the angels drown. Black halo cracked, but I still wear the crown. Truth got buried beneath your lies. Now I walk through fire with vengeance in my eyes. Every prayer sounds hollow tonight. Every saint got blood on white. You built your empire on fear and blame. Now the devil himself won't speak your name. I hear the choir screaming in reverse. Heaven closed the gates, now feel the curse. I'm the devil's advocate, the voice inside your head, the shadow in the mirror, the whisper from the dead. I drag the truth into the light and watch your kingdom break. You made a monster out of me. Now feel the hell you make. Chains on my soul, but they forge me strong. Turn my scars into battle songs. Your judgment carved into my skin, but I learned how to love the violence within. Ashes fall like freezing rain. Mercy died in the sound of chains. You can run, but you can't escape the reckoning wearing my face. No savior coming, no final grace. Just broken gods and a world erased. If sin is power, then let me reign. I kissed the dark and became the flame. I'm the devil's advocate, the end you can't outrun. The last breath in the silence, when the war is finally won. I tear the heavens from the sky and leave the stars to fade. You created this demon, now bow to what you made.
All right, welcome everybody to A Crimes After Dark on Thursday night, and it's good to see you. Thank you all for our loyal audience. We do have a very loyal audience that's coming in on a regular basis. It's amazing to see how many people say they make this part of their regular routine. Welcome to, I saw one or two people say that this is the first live they've caught and they're excited. It's weird because I feel like we really need to accentuate your questions when you come in for your first ever live. So we'll try to do the best we can. We'll have my mods pay attention. If this is your first live, I'd like to be able to answer a question that you may have that you can get answered live on the show. Otherwise, we will get this thing kicked off pretty soon. Lots of stuff's been going on. Before I bring Robin up and before Robin reads the monologue by 1-1, because 1-1's not going to be here tonight, unfortunately. Again, his schedule is all over the place, so there's nothing going on there other than he's just in a new promotion, and that's getting him pulled all over the place in a million different directions, but we'll get that worked out real quick. Well, we won't get it worked out, but hopefully he will get it worked out pretty quick. He's got avenues in which that's working. So hopefully he'll get something more settled here pretty soon. So the big interview with Dr. Turvy came out. Every creator, of course, covered it. We were blessed enough to have Kathy's Indie Zone on the show last night. We had Kristen from Custody Queens drop in. It was a great show. Lots of great conversations. Big news. And the Gonzalez's are responding to Dr. Turvy, of course. And Cy Ray is responding to Dr. Turvy, of course. And everybody is doing the spin doctor thing to counter Dr. Turvy. So this is a never-ending cycle. They constantly have to shut down any possible question into the narrative. Big money is on the line, and that should be considered as part of the reason why everybody wants to shut this down. Big money. If it goes back to trial, huge money and cost to taxpayers. If it doesn't go back to trial, big profits for people who are profiting off of the closure of this and being able to move forward with business ventures and all kinds of stuff. So it is a big money moment in this case. Who will prevail? Will the truth come out, or will pocketbooks prevail? Anyways, it's a bit of a side rant. Let's get Robin up on stage, and we'll tell you what we're going to do tonight as far as the cover of what we're going to cover tonight. But how you doing, Robin?
All righty. Doing well, thank you. How about you?
Good. I'm excited.
Good. Yeah, great to be here again.
We were planning to do part 2 of our little kind of Wickham thing, and then all of a sudden the Dr. Turvy thing busted that up yesterday. So it's you and I covering that tonight.
Yeah,
we'll cover part 2.
that's
now.
okay. Hey, that was really important last night. And yeah, like you said, I'm really glad that Kathy was able to be here with us, and one was able to come on with us a little bit later in the show. So it was great having the 4 of us going through that. So, and it was a wild night. Had a lot of our friends here in chat, and we have a lot of our friends here again tonight. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I have so many thoughts going through my head. I see people talking right in the chat, about how this could go further up. This case, Idaho 4 could go further up if Hitler turns it down. In fact, that's a good argument for why Hitler won't turn it down. Because if Hitler wants control of the narrative, then he needs to keep it in his courtroom. If he turns it down, it could go to a higher court and he could lose control of it. So he may indeed allow this to stay in his courtroom where he has some sort of control over the narrative and how it turns out. So lots of shit going on.
Yepper.
It's also intimidating hearing people saying that they're watching us on big screens. Do you know that more and more YouTubers are watching YouTube on big screen TVs now? It's like at an unprecedented level. They're starting to compete with Netflix and streaming services as the primary way people watch YouTube now is on big screen TVs.
That's how we mainly watch YouTube is on our TV. Yeah, heck yeah. So, but
it's crazy.
Do you want me to go ahead and do the monologue?
Yeah, let's do the monologue and let's get this thing going.
All right, so is it good to be alive in the den on a Thursday night?
Yeah.
Jackson, Juliana, you know you are the apples of your daddy's eyes. And Mrs. 11, you know how much he adores you. 4 people were murdered inside 1122 King Road. Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Brian Kohberger pleaded guilty. And for a time it appeared the case was over. No trial, no jury, no full public presentation of the evidence. But then came the post-conviction filing. Then came the unsealed expert reports. And now, former FBI agent and Broken Plea author Chris Whitcomb is asking us to look again, not at the rumors, not at the headlines, at the house. Because according to Wickham, some of the most troubling questions may be hiding in the common areas on the second floor. Bloodstains there were described in a prosecution expert report as being diluted with an unknown substance. Wickham does not claim that proves a cleanup, but he does ask why blood inside the murder rooms appeared one way, while blood in the spaces between them appeared dramatically different. And the killer moved through the house covered in blood. Where is the trail? No obvious bloody path through the home. No victim blood publicly tied to Kohberger's vehicle. No victim blood publicly tied to his apartment or belongings. That does not prove someone else committed these murders, but it leaves a question that has never completely disappeared. How does someone leave a scene this violent without taking more of that scene with them? Then there is Murphy. Wickham says he personally viewed body camera footage from inside Kaylee's bedroom and saw Murphy on the bed while the balcony slider appeared closed. Combine that with the reported paw prints, the barking heard during a critical period of the night, and questions surrounding where Murphy normally slept, and suddenly the dog becomes part of the timeline. Who moved him? When? And why did the barking stop? Then there are the doors. The second floor slider, the first floor entrance reportedly seen open hours after the murders, and the unresolved question of who may have moved through that house before police arrived. Wickham also says investigators examined several individuals closely enough to seek DNA or fingerprint samples. That does not make them guilty, but it reminds us that before investigators settled on one suspect, there were other names, other leads, and other possibilities. Wickham has also openly questioned whether one person comfortably accounts for everything found inside that house. 2 floors, 4 victims, different injuries, a violent struggle, a surviving roommate, a dog, blood, doors, and an extraordinarily compressed timeline. 1 person, 1 night, minutes. So the question isn't simply, could one person do it? It's this: does all of the evidence fit that explanation? And now Brian Kohberger is trying to reopen the case, claiming he entered his guilty plea without fully understanding information that could have affected that decision. Some of those claims may ultimately go nowhere, but tonight, we're not trying to make the evidence fit a theory. We're asking whether the theory fits the evidence. We go back to the second floor, back to the blood, back to Murphy, back to the timeline, and back to the questions that never made it in front of a jury. Because sometimes the most disturbing part of a murder investigation isn't what the investigators found, it's what still doesn't make sense. And the possibility that a case everyone thought was finished may not be finished at all. And with that, this is Crimes After Dark.
All righty. Thank you so much for that. Collectively, Robin and one for writing it up and you for delivering it. Thank you so much for the teamwork. I was watching the chat while you were talking, and I see a lot of people are saying Christopher got this wrong, Christopher got that wrong. Christopher says Xana was attacked in the kitchen or the dining room, but it's Kaylee's blood, it's not Xana's blood. And then there's questions of I don't trust Whitcomb. If Whitcomb says focus on the second floor, what does he not want us to pay attention to? I get it. I want to make sure everyone understands. I'm not blind to the possibility that some people may want us to really, really focus in the wrong place. I get that. But tonight we're going to focus on the second floor because I've had a lot of personal conversations with Mr. Wickham. And while I don't know the man personally, and I realize a lot of people have a real big problem with Whitcomb's history, as even Wickham says himself, I've lived a very violent life. He's been in a lot of violent situations, and he's maybe even done a lot of violent things. And maybe some people don't trust a man who has had the violent life that he has and worked for the FBI and worked for the CIA and admits so. And is he just a talking head? In fact, if you recall, Robin, one of the first things I ever said to Whitcomb is, people are going to say you're a former FBI agent, and this book is nothing more than the FBI's version of what happened to try to steer the direction in that way. And he kind of laughed it off and said, well, people can say what they want. I didn't write the book for the FBI. I wrote it for myself, kind of thing. But look, it was the first thing I said. People are going to see you being once FBI, always FBI. And if you worked with them so closely in the past, and maybe even the information that you have that's in your book was from an FBI insider that's a buddy of yours that said, hey, take a look at this case file. This is a fucked up case. Like, if you have friends in law enforcement and FBI, are you tainted by that? Now, all I can tell you is, again, I've had many conversations with Christopher Wickham. I feel, and I'm usually a pretty good judge of character, but I feel like he's coming from the right place. But have I been played by people? Yes, I've been played by people because I'm a trusting person. And when somebody comes off as honest and sincere, I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to give Christopher Wickham the benefit of the doubt that he really does say we're still missing something on the common area. Now we know what the major argument is. We know Christopher Wickham is saying the fact that it appears that someone cleaned up the common area on the second floor and only there, not up in the upstairs bedroom, not in the Xana's bedroom, but only in the common areas between the two, that tells you something. Primarily, I would argue what it tells you is it's not one killer inside about 6 to 8 minutes. There's not enough time to allow for a cleanup. So if a cleanup has happened, if blood was diluted and tried to be wiped down and hidden and covered up and whatever, there is not enough time for one person to have done that in the time that they say. Which gets really weird for us, right? Because Robin, we push back on the timeline. It's not possible in that timeline. So is the timeline wrong? And then everybody gets mad when we question the timeline, as if the timeline's correct, but it wasn't one person. And I don't even think you can have a cleanup even if there was multiple people cleaning up the scene in the time that happened. It's impossible.
No, it's impossible. First off, Lab, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. We appreciate that very, very much. But yeah, now one thing that did surprise me in that interview with Dr. Turvy, he did mention the timeline.
Yes, and he did. Right.
That this timeline will be messed up by certain things.
Right. And that confused me because he before got all pissy about the whole, well, people want to jerk off to the whole timeline issue, but it doesn't matter. I'm like, but yet he hinted the timeline's off when you start to look at the hair in Ethan's hand and stuff like that.
I think maybe he went back himself.
Yeah.
And kind of reconsidered the timeline.
Yeah.
And so his attitude in that interview yesterday seemed to have changed somewhat on that, which I was glad for.
Yeah. And look, there is a solution, by the way, that bridges the whole. It happened in 8 minutes, but there was time for a cleanup and you can't have both. Here's what the solution is. And it's the question it's the thing that nobody wants to state out loud for fear of being sued. So I'll be very careful when I say it. It is possible the killer left in a short window, but then people remained in the house and cleaned up after the killer left. That's how you answer the question. You're right. The killer didn't have time to clean up, but you know what? The house was occupied for 8 hours. And that it does leave time for a cleanup. So the implication is that, yes, they, meaning the Whitcomb, the Dr. Turvy, can be insisting the killer was in and out of that house in under 20 minutes. And that can't be disputed. But yet there was a cleanup and there's no time for that. And they would say, yes, you're right. So that means somebody was cleaning up the scene after the killer left or the killers left.
Now, and that's what I got thinking about this really hard, like kind of last night and even this morning. And I was thinking, there were some people who knew by 9 a.m. that something had happened. So it is less than 8 hours as far as a cleanup goes, which means that gives even more credence to the idea that there were more than one person cleaning up. Because if you shorten that to 5, say, because by 9 a.m. there were some people who knew. And so if you shorten that to about a 4 or 5 hour window, it's going to take more people to clean up in that amount of time before people started arriving at that house.
Right. And again, I'm not making allegations, but you have to ask the question. Okay, so how do I say this? I'm not implicating anything, but I'm asking the question. Could an explanation for why 911 doesn't get called for 8 hours is because the cleanup job wasn't done? Like, were people still working on cleaning the place up and having to give a blessing like, okay, I think we're good enough. We can now call 911. Did that possibly happen? Is there any scenario in which it's possible the reason for the delay was the cleanup took longer than they expected? Mm-hmm. Or maybe the cleaners didn't even show up for a while and had to wait for the cleaners to get there. And so is that possible? I mean, again, I'm not implicating anybody. I'm just saying that could explain why, because nobody wants to answer the question, how can it possibly be 8-hour delay? The answer is always, well, I was in frozen shock phase and I went to sleep. No, you didn't go to
Right.
sleep. We know that wasn't true.
And,
You didn't go to sleep.
one thing I want to speak to as far as, I know people in the chat and people I've seen lots of other people, talking about, and I myself have been frustrated with Christopher Whitcomb, not being more forthcoming about certain things. But what you have to understand is, as an author who has a publisher, now I'm a self-published author, so I only have to be accountable to myself. But when you are an author who has a contract with a publishing agency, you have to be careful about what you say, because you have codes of conduct built into your contract. And so he has to be doubly careful, not only for his own legal reasons, but also because of being bound by the contract through his publisher. So he is walking that line of trying to get information out there, giving us places to start, taking us back to places to say, this is what you're missing, to kind of direct us again. Yeah, I know. Some people will say, why is he directing us here but not there? But it doesn't do any harm to focus on these areas that he's telling us about now, that he would like us to revisit.
No, yeah, people, yeah, exactly. The message people seem to be sending is, if we spend time here, we're wasting our time. We're not wasting our
No.
Nothing is a waste of time. Every bit of the case needs to be reanalyzed, relooked at. And it's not a waste of time. Now, is it a misdirection? I don't know. That remains to be seen until we really review it. But we're going to get into reading again chapter 4 now of an advanced copy. And I told people before, somebody didn't know what advanced copy means. So let me make sure we're clear about this. When we reached out to the publisher, when we knew the book was coming out, and we asked for an interview with Christopher Whitcomb. I do this all the time. I keep calling everybody doctor. I must think everybody's really important. I call everybody doctor all the time. Anyways, when I asked for an interview, I also asked for an advanced copy of the book, and that's a common practice, right? Before you interview somebody, you want to know what the book says. And if I'm not allowed to interview him and talk about the book until the day the book hits the shelves, the only way for me to be prepared for that interview is to have read the book before it hits the shelves. So we got an advanced copy. So that's why when I say I have an advanced copy, that's what that means. We got a copy from the publisher under the condition that we didn't spoil the book. We didn't talk about anything in the book until the day that the book was released. And we kept our oath on that. We did not break any content violations. We didn't talk about the book and what was in the book. And we were telling everybody, like, holy shit, when this book comes out, you're going to have your mind blown, but we're not going to tell you yet, because we've been sworn to secrecy until the book comes out. Right. And again, an entire chapter of his book, Wickham said this, an entire chapter of his book was removed by the publisher. And some people have, and I want to clear a few things up before we get into tonight's reading of the book. Some people have said, didn't Christopher say there was 12 people involved? No, listen, reading and listening skills are really, really important. What he said was, there are at least 12 people that are better alternative suspects, something to that effect. He didn't say there were 12 people involved in the murder. Some people have suggested, Wickham said there was 12 people involved. No, what he said was, there's at least 12, there's at least a dozen alternate suspects that make as much or more sense than the Brian Kohberger story. And in fact, his chapter that was removed by the publisher covered those alternate suspects and talked about them. And his publisher, rightfully probably so, said, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. For you to even suggest that other people who have not been implicated in this crime might have been involved in the crime, we're looking for a lawsuit. So we're going to remove the chapter talking about your theories of people who have better reasons. And it sucks, because for me as a free speech person, we should be allowed to say, doesn't this person have a better motive? What is illegal about that? It's not illegal, but it does set yourself up to be sued by somebody to say, you just said, no, I didn't say you did it. I said, you're a better option than Brian Kohberger, but just saying that can get you sued if you're not careful, because we live in America and you can sue anybody. So that chapter was removed, but for those people, and look, I will say this, and I'm going to be really careful when I word this, and we're going to get into the reading right away, but I want to be careful when I say this. I am now firmly convinced, and you're all going to get pissed at me for saying this, but I'm firmly convinced Wickham believes he knows who did the murders. Turvy believes he knows who did the murders. I think they do, but they can't say. They can't even remotely hint at it. But I will tell you this. I think Turvy made it clear that Brian Kohberger wasn't one of them, because he all but said Brian Kohberger's innocent, and they're railroading this guy. And so leave that where it's at. I think they do know who did it, or at least, and when I say they know, what I'm saying is these gentlemen have seen things that none of us have seen in the public. They've seen the law enforcement files. They've seen the prosecution's case. They've seen the defense things. They've seen things we don't know, and they have reached conclusions that may be better informed than our own. We're grasping at straws. We're grasping at redacted files and questions and innuendos and conspiracies and whatever. They've seen things we didn't see. And in their minds, they're kind of frustrated because we're all guessing. But how could we not guess? Because we don't have what they have, which is full access to the files. They've seen them, and I think they have come to a conclusion based on what they've seen. Now, would we all come to the same conclusion as them? I don't know. But I will tell you this: while neither one of them want to say who, they will never say who they think it is. I think they believe that they do know who it is, and I do think it was more than one person, and I think they know that as well. Yeah. So leave that for where it is. Again, they would probably never. They will never talk about that. Not until something changes, until something comes open and they're allowed to talk about it. So I guarantee you, if something changes and it becomes clear that there was more than one, then I'm sure Wickham will start opening up his conversation about what he knows. And same with Dr. Turvy. But until that avenue is opened, they have to wait until it comes out. And they're asking us to go back and look. So let's do that tonight. Let's go back and look at chapter 4 of Broken Plea by Christopher Wickham. And we'll show this. Now let's get on screen here. Share screen. I should have made sure. What the hell's going on? Oh yeah, I got to remove something else first. Good Lord. And again, so this is an advanced copy, so it's in Microsoft Word format. It's not even in a PDF format. So I can't 1000% verify that every word in this document is the same as the print version, but we got this copy very, 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 very quickly before the book was released. So I think it's the same exact version they hit but if there's any discrepancy, I haven't found it yet. And I do have a hard copy somewhere. In fact, we've got some autographed hard copies from Christopher Wickham.
Yes, we do.
Team. So we were privileged enough to get some autographed copies from him for being his first interview and all those good things. So, anyways, for what it's worth, let's read together. I'm going to read it verbatim, and then we're going to talk about it where Robin and I feel the need to do so. And if any of our regulars, by the way, that are in the chat that we want to bring up to join us, we can look for those as well. Chapter 4, the beer pong $2 bill face print on the glass. And again, what we're looking for is, and even Custody Queen said this last night when Kristen dropped in. She's like, Chris keeps telling us it's the second floor. So let's focus on those things. Homicide detectives will tell you the first 48 hours after a crime are most important because time is seldom the investigator's friend. Fluids dry, things get touched, furniture's moved, DNA gets wiped away. And yes, this is a murder investigation, not a weather forecast. But if we assume for a moment that Lauren's predictions are correct and that small changes at the beginning create unpredictable outcomes down the line, we begin to see an apparent problem. From the moment Officer Nunez arrived on site and labeled Ethan a possible suicide, things started to go downhill. By the time Talbot wrote that he found the sheath on the floor, things seem to have been stumbling towards chaos. So let me explain what that's about if you don't know. When Nunez is on body camera footage and he says to, I think it was Werner, looks like a murder-suicide. I think Werner said, where'd you get that? Yeah. So that was his first. Nunez, when he walked into the crime scene, Xana and Ethan in the bed, he goes, it looks like a murder-suicide. And the other officer with him said, where'd you get that? But that early assumption, that early guess by Nunez, looks like a murder-suicide, led to what Wickham would kind of describe as the butterfly effect. Once you put that idea in someone's head, things started to go awry. And then questions started to come out, rumors about maybe it was a fentanyl overdose that led to a murder, or maybe it was a fight or whatever. And things started to spiral from just a comment. Looks like a murder-suicide to me. And they didn't, of course, even know that there were 2 more bodies upstairs at this point. Yeah, Labs Blues say, I think Wickham is giving us just enough to piece together. I think that was his intent. I think Whitcomb's intent was to legally open the discussion and give researchers just enough. He's very, very flattering to a lot of us YouTubers, saying, you guys are smart fucking people. Go figure it out. It's right there in the book. So he keeps imploring us. I can't say more. It's in the book. So that's what we're looking for. Like I feel sometimes like I'm just fucking not smart enough. I know I'm a smart guy, but I feel like he's like, dude, you're missing it. Okay, can you just tell me? No, go read the book. Fuck, I read the book. So we're still looking.
Right. And another thing everyone has to consider, if Christopher does something that does get him sued, that means no more information from Chris. And we don't want that.
No. And I think he's prepared for that.
Yeah.
And his publisher's prepared for that and all those good things.
Sure.
All right. It did not help that the entire process was buried by courts. On February 25th, 2024, Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall wrote, based upon the motion to seal, search warrant, and related documents filed herein, the court does hereby confirm and order that the affidavit for search warrant, including any exhibits, search warrant, return of search warrant, including any exhibits and inventories of items seized, and order are confidential, exempt from disclosure, and are sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administration Rule 32G1 for the reasons stated in this said motion, and until April 1st, 2023, or further order of the court, whichever occurs first. So right off the bat, we weren't even allowed to see exactly how they came to the conclusion that they needed to go after the search warrants or the all that stuff. It was sealed. We didn't know what the evidence that they had that they were looking for. We don't know what they were looking for, what their theory was, anything.
Right.
Some might argue, this is now Wickham again, some might argue that secrecy is good in a prosecution of this nature. That scrutiny is a taxpayer-funded function of the state. Many would claim that police need time to work, that media only cloud the waters, that investigative journalism is nothing more than directed analysis, a distraction. Perhaps it doesn't even matter at this point because the proof is in the pudding. Police have opened their files, showing how the case was solved, what they found, who they talked to, when they first made sense of facts. Everything looked copacetic once Kohberger pled guilty. And I would disagree with Wickham on that. I don't think everything looks copacetic. Every single time something new came out, we had new questions about this case. Like, wait a minute. That's not what you've said for fucking 3 years leading up to this thing.
Right.
Anyways.
The contradictions are crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But even if we agree that justice has been done within the realm of lawyers and courts, maybe we can also agree that occasionally even pros get things wrong. It's easy to recall the apparent wrongful conviction of countless people, from the Central Park Five to Reuben Hurricane Carter, the McComb brothers, and Amanda Knox. Former attorney John Grisham recently published a book called Framed. And how many times have I said on this show, get a copy of Framed? All you people out there who say people don't plead guilty to things that they didn't do, fucking get a copy of Framed and read the book.
Yep.
The cases will just blow you away if you're unaware of how people are coerced into confessions. So he talks about Framed, documenting outrageous miscarriages of justice. Well-meaning advocates such as the Innocence Project have logged more than 200 exonerations based on DNA alone. Incredibly, more than a quarter of those involved initial pleas of guilty. And Turvy said it's about a third. A third.
Yeah.
1 out of every 3 of the people who were convicted and then later exonerated had pled guilty to a crime they didn't commit, and then were later exonerated by DNA to show that they didn't do it. A third. That's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Do we have any comments in the chat that we need to pay attention to as we're going? I just want to make sure we're not missing anything.
Nope. Just a lot of people talking about. Let me see here. This is a question that does come up a lot from David Allen.
Is there a possible, is it possible there's another victim that got injured on the main floor? Is it possible one of the attackers was injured on the main floor and left some blood? Chicken guy got cut on his right hand. I mean, it's always possible. Yes. I mean, we know for a fact there is blood of unknown males, DNA of unknown males at the crime scene that they didn't test because they didn't figure it was relevant because the blood was not where Kohberger supposedly went out the house. So they just ignored it. Not relevant, blood of unknown male DNA. So yeah, there's blood of other people in the crime scene. Not only that, but there's blood on the knife sheath. Last I remember, there's blood on the knife sheath that doesn't match Kohberger. It doesn't match the victims, and they don't know who it is. That itself should be a bombshell. If there's blood on the knife sheath that doesn't belong to Kohberger or the victims, then whose blood is it? Oh, you know what? We don't care because that would only confuse things. So they don't test it. And they don't. So anyways, they did test it actually to some of the alternative suspects. They did run there was 4 alternative suspects that Taylor had listed, and they did test those people, I think, to the crime scene unknown blood samples and determined that they were excluded as possible contributors. So they did go that far. Anyways.
Yeah.
Some might argue that the problem lies in human error, that under the best of circumstances, cops are limited to the training and resources at their disposal. No one would claim, for example, that the Moscow Police Department had everything it needed to investigate a quadruple homicide with 35 sworn officers and a tax base of 25,000 people. Bill Thompson's office was likely short-staffed and underpaid. We assume that Ann Taylor was state certified to defend murder cases, but that was not her primary responsibility. Even the state police were limited compared to law enforcement in other populous geographies, with standards that allowed detectives like Talbot to file evidence reports 3 weeks after the collection. And that's important. A lot of reports were filed weeks and weeks after the actual events that occurred. Oh, hey, 3 weeks ago, I went to the house and this is what I remember seeing. That's a long gap.
Mm-hmm.
How then does one go back, even this early in the investigation, to try to make sense of things like diluted bloodstains, the posing of Kaylee and Maddie's bodies? Wickham makes this a comment all the time. Their bodies were posed post-mortem as if to send a message.
Yep.
Which again, Robin, this is the part that bothers me. It bothers me, but I don't want to, how do I say this? What Wickham did with his book is great. It's monumental when nothing should distract of that. But it bothers me when we look at ripped out clumps of hair of somebody that's not Kohberger in Ethan's hand and we say, holy shit. We read hair of somebody else, not Kohberger or the girls, clumps of hair in the bed with Maddie and Kaylee, and we say, holy shit. We read other things like their throats, Kaylee and Maddie's throats, both cut twice post-mortem with signature wounds cut on their shoulders at exactly the same place as a signature. And we say, holy shit. And then when you ask Wickham, what's the most important thing? The common area. Well, that's not in the common area. None of those things. Ethan's hair in his hand is not in the common area. The posing of the bodies, the ripped out hair, and all of that's not. So why, we still have to ask, why is Wickham saying the key to this case is in the common area when some of the biggest holy shit moments are in the actual crime scene itself? That's the part I still haven't worked out.
Well,
I feel like I'm missing it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna just keep investigating it. That's all we can do, you know.
So we've got continue with the book, the posing of Kaylee and Maddie's bodies, and the arguably baffling statements by 2 surviving witnesses. Yes, Dylan and Bethany's statements just baffle the imagination. How does one proceed when on its surface, the living room presents a roiling storm of doubt? Now, this is where, again, Christopher Wickham says it's the common area.
Yeah.
You know, it's the common area, stupid. You got to focus there. That's where he keeps telling everyone. Custody. When I asked Kristen last night when she was on from the Custody Queens, what is Wickham saying? And she said, second floor, second floor. We're getting the message. Second floor is what we need to focus on. But why are we missing it? We already know what all the questions are. We already know there seems to be evidence of a, but it feels like we're missing something still that he wants us to catch. So if you out there in the true crime community in our chat, we got smart motherfuckers out there. If you guys catch it, please let me know. DM had a sketch of the same damn thing hanging in her room. A female with her neck cut twice like that. I saw the pic today. Yes. I know. I've seen an image of that as well. Unbelievable shit that people still don't know. Even Dr. Turvy said this case is way worse than you can possibly imagine. You think it's bad?
He said that a couple different times.
Way worse than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Do you think Turvy and Wickham would appear together on a live to answer some more questions? It would be great. Here's the thing. Wickham will for sure come back on my show if I ask. He's told me that multiple times. Dr. Turvy, as Kristen from Custody Queens said last night, he doesn't even know who you are. He's never mentioned your name. And it's funny because I actually asked Wickham, can you help me get an interview with Turvy? And he said, yes, I'll get you an interview with Turvy. But I've reached out to Turvy. Turvy didn't respond. I even dropped Wickham's name. Hey, Wickham said you'd talk to me. He didn't talk to me. I have a feeling Turvy only wants to talk to very certain people, and it's mostly lawyers. I've only really seen him on talking to lawyers. So because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not sure how he feels about our channel. So I don't think I personally can get Turvy on with Wickham on my show. And it would be amazing if the two of them would go together. But I bet you they don't want to appear together for it would lead to a possible problem, I think.
Yes, I think Dr. Turvy is very cautious in anything showing any kind of impropriety on his part. So I would think that appearing publicly with Christopher could potentially create problems for him. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Bubba Watch Bubba Witcher, not Watcher. Bubba Witcher says, any guess on who allegedly did the cleanup? An unnamed perp or roommates? So this is where I'm telling you, I'm not a lawyer, and I as well am walking a tightrope about what we can say. So sometimes when you just are sharing your opinion, it's just an opinion. I can tell you that, and sometimes I feel comfortable about it, and other times I don't, because the law can be tricky in the United States. If people start trusting me as an authority, then even my opinion gets viewed as fact. So somebody could argue when DA says something, people don't view it as just an opinion. They think it's fact. So even if I say, hey, this is just my opinion, they'll be like, yeah, but we all know that he's dead right about shit. So I have to be careful, because if people start to trust what I say and then I give you my opinion, they can say, people already believe that when he gives an opinion, it's probably right. And so that leads to a very slippery slope. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but that's my concern, is that they'll say, look, people trust what DA says. So if he gives an opinion, they're going to take it as gospel. And I don't think that we're there yet, but that's the danger that we
right. Yeah. Thank you, Zach, for the jewels. We appreciate that.
Jamming. Well, I wish I could see Richard's like a
it was cute.
Guitar. Is it? All right. The answer lies in scrutiny. In lieu of a trial, we must dig down into the state's assertion in the plea hearing and work to expose apparent contradictions in the search of truth. And that's what we do. That's all we've been doing, is looking for contradictions. Well, you said here this, but that's not true. You said it's Kohberger's car, but we got the fog light issue, and we've got now he didn't go the route you said he did. He went north, according to Cyrey. Like, we look for the contradictions. Wait a minute. It couldn't have been what you said.
Right.
There are secrets buried in Bill Thompson's Brady disclosure. It's our job to reveal them. And that is the teaser. That's why I highlighted that sentence. Wickham's telling us there are secrets buried in the disclosure. We just have to find it. It's our job. He even implores you in the book, true crime community, go solve this case. It's there. I can't say it because I'm going to get sued 6 ways from Sunday if I say it, but it's all right there. And I've asked him questions, and I want to be an open book with you guys. I've asked him questions, and I'm certain he has feelings about this case, and I can't repeat them because he won't repeat them. And he would, as he would say, rightly so. Even if you said I said it, I deny it. Like, I'm not going to I'm not saying those words. I'm not getting my ass sued. So I have opinions, and he has opinions, and I've talked to him about his opinions, but I can't tell you what they are because he didn't say them. You know what I'm saying? He will admit, he will say he didn't say them. Before we delve deeper, several things require stipulation. First, so Wickham's not going to tell you, I hold no forensics analysis certification from any accredited association, organization, or school. I have a master's degree from the University of Virginia and 15 years of investigative experience as a special agent with the FBI, but no training in forensics. My testimony as a court-certified expert in statement analysis helped put a serial killer named Oscar Ray Bolin to death, and I hold no degree, but I hold no degree in criminology. So yes, Christopher Wickham is former FBI. He's been involved in cases. He's given testimony in cases, but he's not a forensics guy, which is why a large part of this book is discussions with Dr. Turvy, who just blew up the internet yesterday with his recent interview with Donna Rotuno. Grayson's mama, first of all, thank you for the gift. Before I even read this, that's amazing. Thank you so much. DM was the only one who supposedly went down the stairs to the first floor. Could it have been her who transferred Ethan blood into the common area, which would also lead her to possibly cover him up? Yeah, that's what we were saying last night. That's what we were saying. I made the comment. The only person we officially know went down that staircase to the bottom floor, the first floor, is Dylan. So if you want to ask, how did blood of Ethan Chapin get transferred down the staircase? The only person we know of who went down the staircase is Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying Dylan transferred the blood. What I'm telling you is the only person we know who went down the staircase is Dylan. So it's do you see the tightrope I'm walking? I'm not saying she transferred it, but the only person we know that went down the staircase is Dylan.
Exactly.
So, second, cold case investigation is a fast developing discipline aimed at foisting new techniques upon legacy methods. Whereas homicide investigators focus on acute onset crisis, cold case investigators have the benefit of objectivity and perspective. They face less pressure from the media, politicians, or family members, or the strident cries of an outraged public. Oddly enough, time becomes an asset. Third, chaos theory is now widely taught in the world's finest universities, but police academies eschew it. Concepts like initial condition, non-linear dynamics, and complex adaptive systems are fundamental to social media developers, game theorists, and financial strategists, but an anathema to law enforcement. Scientists avoid simple paths like rational or assumption in favor of logic, but cops do not. If we decide to lean on Lorenz to build new models of inquiry, we need to anticipate resistance from the authorities. That's a big, deep concept, what they're talking about. But what you're saying is, chaos theory. Sometimes things are fucking way more complex. It doesn't make logical sense. You have to, and there's whole schools of thought about it. Grayson's mama becomes a YouTube member. Thank you so much. Gave a nice gift, became a member. Bob's your uncle. Thank you very much. All right. Finally, as odd as this might sound to fans of crime and punishment, none of this is new to the United States Department of Justice. When it comes to the antiquated state of crime scene investigations, they agree completely. In fact, they put it in writing. The word system, in quotes, is a misnomer. When used in the context of death investigations in the United States, wrote National Institute of Justice Director Dr. Stephen C. Clark. In the acknowledgments section of the groundbreaking 2024 study, Protocols for Crime Scene Investigation. There is no system of death investigation that covers the more than 3,000 jurisdictions in this country. In lieu of standardized methods, we will hereafter refer to and cite the National Institutes of Justice Death Investigations. So there's a lot of, this is a lot of him giving the primer of where his stuff's coming. And I feel like we're going to lose people if we just keep reading all that. Let's get into more important stuff. So he gives all the talk. He's just talking about various things about crime scene and how do we then proceed? How do we accept Kohberger's admission of guilt while acknowledging that facts that seem sufficient to doubt them? Let's start with the basics of what the file tells us. We know from Dylan Mortenson's first two statements that witness recollections can be sketchy at best. We know that written reports of Officer Nunez and Warner seem to differ significantly from what the body camera footage shows. So listen, what they wrote up, what the officers wrote up in the report, differ from what their body camera footage shows. And how long did it take us and the public to get the body camera footage so that we can put it up beside their reports? How long has it taken? Robin, how many times have we looked at a report side by side with an interview recently and seen how much didn't make it into the report?
It's unreal.
Huge amounts of discussions of cocaine and drug dealers didn't even make it into any of the reports.
Nope.
Because they didn't want to go down that route. So they
they couldn't have that. It would go right against, their narrative. And they had one guy in mind and one guy only.
Let's continue. We know that Bethany Funk's delayed call to 911 started the whole thing off on the wrong foot, and that statements provided by Hunter Johnson only made things worse. We cannot ignore the fact that Detective Talbot's December 6th report appears to directly contradict the handwritten receipt that he filed on November 13th. This is where Talbot records the knife sheath was on the floor, but then later on writes that it was found underneath. Oops, I got to undo that. I just moved text around in my document. Wrote that he found it on the floor and then later said it was found under Maddie's leg. Forensics analysis. And it was funny, Robin, I have to say this again. I kind of caught it without realizing what I caught, because way back in the day, I remember bitching about, wait a minute, they said it was on the floor, but then they say it's under Maddie's leg. And do they mean by under Maddie's leg, it's on the floor? Like even I caught it back then, but I didn't know what I was catching. And this book made it very clear what we were catching. But we didn't know what we were catching. And that's kind of what I'm asking now. Like, what did we miss? Maybe we've all looked at something right there in front of our face that we just missed. Just like that. We're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe the answer to how it's under her leg, but also on the floor is that on the floor is kind of under her leg. Like, and I was trying to reason it out that there was something I was missing. Anyways. We cannot ignore the fact that Detective Talbot's December 6th report directly contradicts his handwritten receipt filed on November 13th. Forensics analysis by the state's blood spatter expert, Paulette Sutton, sows confusion where it was supposed to add science. In my opinion, Bill Thompson's plea hearing summation is rife with half-truths, suppositions, vagaries, and misunderstandings. Ann Taylor promised to mount a defense, but that never happened. And by the way, I opened my interview with Christopher Wickham with, remember Bill Thompson's opening, the recitation of the state's case. Your Honor, what the state's case is going to be different from what the public heard and what was in the PCR. He started out by telling people that what the state was going to present in trial was different than everybody fucking thought for the last 3 years. And people dismissed it. And Wickham said, good catch. You're right. He flat out said, we half the shit you think about this case, we were never planning on showing at court.
Yeah.
In order to map a path through this chaos, we need to find a beginning, a center time and place from which all change flows. Fortunately, we can agree on certain things, including the fact that at 4 a.m. on November 13th, there was a 3-story house near the middle of U of I campus. The midpoint of the house was open on the second floor. At the center of the second floor was a living room. In the center of that living room stood a white folding table. Everything that happened early Sunday morning had to pass through it. Now, this is the one place I would say I question Christopher Wickham. Wickham and Turvy want to insist everything happened after 4 a.m. I personally am not convinced everything happened after 4 a.m.
No.
So that's the one part I challenge Wickham on. Everybody, they want to shut down any discussion about this happening outside of 4 a.m. immediately. We know what happened between 4 a.m. and 4:20. No, we don't. And largely they're basing that on Xana Kernodle's TikTok phone activity, saying she was alive at 4:12. And I think that's largely why they insist on the time frame, because Xana still had to be alive. But I've said a million times, cell phone activity is not proof of life. You don't know who was on the phone. You don't know a lot of things. And there's even disagreement about whether or not those times were an hour off. And it was actually 3 something in the morning, not 4 something in the morning that she was on the phone. Police seem to agree Numerous reports map the killer's movements through the house, acknowledging that he entered through the sliding glass doors in the kitchen before moving upstairs to cruelly attack his victims. Evidence shows that he walked back to the second floor, leaving a blood trail on the walls and banister to where he encountered Xana near the door to Dylan's room. He chased her through the living room, turned down, left down the hallway, killing her within arm's reach of Ethan. Police believe her killer fled the second floor after encountering Dylan just moments before. Now, by the way, several people in the chat tonight was saying, Wickham's wrong. He says Xana was attacked in the kitchen. He did not, right there, say Xana was attacked in the kitchen. He said he encountered Xana outside of Dylan's door and chased her into her room and killed her there. So some people are saying that he said that Xana was attacked in the kitchen. That's not what it says right here. So let's be careful about what we're ascribing to what he said and what he didn't say.
Right.
Sutton agreed enough to describe the living room in detail. Within this area, there's a sofa, a television, a beer pong table, she wrote on her 62-page of her forensics analysis. A metal-framed console table is partially visible against the wall opposite the sofa. If we surmise that the table at the center of the house might be important, prosecutors seem to have ignored it. Now, again, I'm slowing down because Christopher Wickham keeps telling all of us YouTubers, the second floor, the second floor, the second floor. The key to this case is the second floor. Wickham tells us one of the biggest pieces of evidence in this house is the beer pong table, which is confusing because then you ask Dr. Turvy, what about the beer pong table? And he says, who gives a shit about the beer pong table? So which one of these people, like, that's where we're all confused. I know Turvy and Wickham have a friendly relationship. So why does Wickham say the ping pong table is one of the most important pieces of this case? And Turvy says, who gives a shit about the ping pong table? The only way to reconcile that is they have two different perspectives. Turvy was there for a completely different purpose than Wickham's book. So are they just looking at it from different angles? Or are they trying to lead us there in a different way? Yeah, and I agree. How's this? Ren Henniger? It's the timeline they want us to go down. I wonder why. Yes, I agree. Why does everybody want us to focus on this particular timeline? Why do they scoff and mock anybody who says that the timeline may be off? And they laugh and they make you feel horrible for even suggesting it. Oh my God, I won't listen to this bullshit conspiracy. We know it happened between 4 and 420. No, we don't. That's the only part I take problems with these is the anger that they have at anybody that questions the official timeline. And yet, just recently, Turvy said, what happened in that room with the bed frame and Ethan is gonna challenge the timeline. The timeline is what he said. Remember?
Yeah.
So, while acknowledging that it was set up for beer pong in the house that hosted a party the night before the murders, no one questioned its placement. And again, this is a big part you need to understand. Christopher Wickham is going to assert, I'm going to jump to the chase for those who don't know. Christopher Wickham is going to assert the beer pong table was knocked over. Bethany Funk heard a loud bang, and that was the sound of the beer pong table being knocked over and banging against the ceiling above her room. That's what she heard. And she also heard the sound of the solo cups hitting the floor. And the reason why he makes a big deal out of it is, then who the fuck put the ping pong table back up and put cups back on top of it?
That's right.
To make it look like it had never been disturbed. And that's a big deal that Wickham's been trying to tell us. If the table was knocked over, who sat it back up and why? Now, we don't know for sure that Bethany heard the ping pong table getting knocked over. That's his theory based on what he says he sees. He sees evidence the table was knocked over and repositioned. And that would make sense that's what Bethany heard. She heard the beer pong table knocked over and the sound of the falling solo cups. And that would be consistent with her statement, leading Wickham to conclude, because of what he saw in the photos, that table was repositioned. Somebody took time to reposition the table. Right, and Cat Lover says she hears the sound of solo cups, which would be very hard, little tiny plastic cups. You hear that, but you don't hear screams and scuffles. Great question.
Yep.
Great question. Great observation.
Absolutely.
So they did not find it odd that 10 cups were neatly arranged at one end and 10 others were strewn wildly from the other. They did not even try to explain how, after killing Kaylee and Maddie, a 6-foot-tall, 180-pound blood-soaked Kohberger chased a frantic Xana through the space occupied by the table without moving it an inch. And Wickham makes a big deal about 18 inches was the clearance. Now, I haven't measured 18 inches for a while. I don't have a tape measure in front of me, but he makes a big deal about 18 inches.
Right.
Is all that they had to clear the table.
Yeah, it's a narrow space.
Right. So he concludes the table was repositioned. All right. Bill Thompson himself stated in court that immediately after butchering Xana and Ethan, Kohberger fled back around the table on his way out the door. Throughout his whole ordeal, we are told the table never budged. And again, I'm slowing down because Whitcomb's comment is that table was moved, knocked over, and then repositioned, and he's certain of it. And he feels like we're all missing it. We're not focusing enough on the beer pong table and how it got to where it was and how the solo cups got back on it. And why would somebody take the time to do that? More importantly, how did a single killer getting in and out of the house after killing 4 people on 2 different floors have time to set the table back up? And why? For what purpose?
If that table was knocked over, maybe that's how we get a mixture of blood on it.
Yeah.
If there's blood on the floor and the table gets knocked over, or blood on the culprits can transfer it to the table in a number of ways.
So I agree. I mean, these are all things we need to keep in our mind as we're trying to work through what Christopher Wickham seems to be wanting us to catch. I told him, I said, we're going to go back. We're going to dive through this chapter again. We're going to look for it. I'm going to put my team on it. We're going to think this through. And if we catch something and some new questions to ask Wickham, we'll bring him back on the show and we'll ask him about it. But we first have to make sure we understand what he's saying. And look, even the Custody Queen says, we're not forensics people either. We keep hearing him say all this stuff, but we don't understand forensics enough to understand what he's trying to tell us. Jennifer Folsom says, I can't remember which channel mentioned it, but I recall they said the residents would play Pong in the kitchen. Yeah. I don't remember that either, but good point. I would have to see that and where they got that from. All right.
Right. Because if the beer pong table was originally in the kitchen and not in the common area, in the living room, why would it, is there some kind of evidence that that table was not even in the living room that night?
There's a picture, by the way. Now this takes me back, Robin. There's a picture that Wickham showed me when we were talking before the interview. He showed me some photos, and it was a picture of Dylan sleeping on the couch in the common area.
Yeah.
And in the picture, you could see the beer pong table, and he wanted me to pay attention. Where do you see the beer pong table? Now I'm trying to go back to my memory. Like, did I miss something there? Because he was showing me, but yeah, I wish I could remember
that picture again then.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was in the original batch of photos released or if it was something he found somewhere else. I don't know. Sutton's report. So again, Sutton is the state's forensics expert brought on after the crime scene was already, I think, demolished. And then she was given photos and said, give your opinions of the crime scene based on these photos. She didn't walk the space, from what I understand. She saw photos.
Right.
Sutton's report addresses blood stains on the table, but never questions how they got there. She maps blood spatter on the knee wall without calculating trajectories or explaining how the blood from an object in motion could have lined up precisely with a killer standing where the table was not supposed to be. Let's break this down. So the idea is that some of the cast off on the wall is the killer swinging a bloody knife or his hand with blood on it, an object in motion, dripped blood off and hit the wall. The problem that Wickham keeps trying to tell us is where the table's at, would have blocked that kind of motion. So again, the table wasn't there when that object in motion was bleeding and slinging a thing. It wasn't there.
Right.
It was put there afterwards, and you can't explain how the blood got on the wall with the ping pong table where it's at. I'm trying to work through where he's leading us, but that's what he's trying to lead us to. All right. Officer Nunez's body camera records Hunter and Warner turning sideways to navigate the table. They had to turn sideways because it's an 18-inch gap. They couldn't go through there, presumably, with their wide-ass 18-inch hips without turning sideways to get past the table without disturbing it. That's how narrow that gap was. But Nunez never questions how Xana dodged it with a maniacal killer close on her heels, wildly swinging a knife. So again, is it plausible? Is it possible? Is it possible Xana, being a small, petite female, just did kind of turn her hips a little bit and squeeze through the thing on the way being chased by a killer? Sure, that is possible. But Wickham's suggesting it's not necessarily plausible. It doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're in a hurry and you're being chased, do you take the time to squeeze through the 18-inch gap? Cat Lover 4700 says, it rings a bell that they played Pong in the kitchen. Why am I thinking DM and Bethany Funk said it in an interview? I'm not sure. Yeah.
And I put that up there because if someone can find that interview,
yes,
we would be very grateful to be able to go back and revisit that interview. So
we'll play it.
That is my call to action to all of you out there. If you know where that interview is, or you think you can find it, please do so and draw our attention to it so that we could at some point here go back and take a look at that.
All right, continuing on. Thank you for that. It's a great idea. If we can get somebody to give us the video and the timestamp, it would be amazing. Worse, Detective Talbot's evidence collection team documents blood stains without explaining their odd shape or uniquely, it says uniquely placement, but it probably should be unique placement. Hey, look, I found a typo in the book, I think. Various reports mention the solo cups without questioning why some stand upright while others lie scattered. Detectives didn't, and is the answer, like, I need to see the crime scene photos again. Is the answer that the ones that got knocked over are where they went through and again, remember Asgut Technologies had a video that she created about Kohberger sliding his hand through the cups and knocking all the cups off. So did that happen? Does that explain only one half the table got disturbed by Kohberger as he swung his hand through the cups, getting blood, getting water or beer, whatever it is on his hand, therefore diluting the stains of cast off that went on the side wall or the knee wall? Yeah. Anyways, various reports mention the solo cups without questioning how some are upright and others are scattered. Detectives did not find it odd that a Corona Light bottle with a bowl of popcorn somehow escaped disruption. They did not bother to explain how Xana's blood ended up on the table on the left side. Now, this is the part many people take Wickham to task on. They say later it was discovered it wasn't Xana's blood, it was Kaylee's blood. And so they say Christopher Wickham's wrong. Xana's blood's not in the living room. But I feel like he addresses this in the book. I feel like he does address it in the book. He talks about the renumbering and the fact that Sutton wrote it up a certain way because that's what she was told. And then later on, she changed how she wrote it up because she was told something different. How did professionals seemingly overlook such obvious clues? Although Sutton later modified some of her statements due to confusion over the placards and intake numbering, she was not shy about offering a speculation. Stain 39 demonstrates the appearance of diluted bloodstain, she wrote on page 62, referring to dried fluids on the beer pong table that were genetically matched to Kaylee Gonzalez. So again, right there, Christopher Wickham said the blood was Kaylee Gonzalez's. So he did catch it. The presence of an overturned cup in the vicinity of stains 39 is a potential source of the dilution. If the cup contained a liquid at some time, or if it was part of the setup for a beer pong game. So Sutton suggested the reason why the blood stain that contains Kaylee Gonzalez's blood is diluted is because maybe one of the beer pong cups had liquid in it. Maybe.
Which would make sense.
Yep. All right, let's continue. Sutton, a professional criminologist, does not explain how she could tell that the bloodstains were diluted based on photographs alone. So that's the tricky part. Sutton didn't walk and process the crime scene in situ, meaning as it was. She saw photographs of it after the scene was torn down or contaminated or whatever. That's when she did a report. She didn't see it in situ. These are the very same stains Detective Talbot noted in his December 6th report as appearing to be liquid. Listen. So Wickham keeps saying Talbot initially said it was liquid, suggesting it's still wet. Now, is this just a bad choice of wording on Talbot's report? It wasn't liquid. It just meant that he saw what used to be liquid there. Neither of the two reports note that the same stains are so faint they do not seem visible in Nunez's body cam footage. So when you look at the body cam footage, you can't even really see that there's a blood stain there. So how did they see it? Just with the naked eye. So again, the problem is all these things could be explained as, well, I did see it. And I did see it as liquid, and I wrote it that way, but maybe you're right. Maybe it wasn't liquid. It was dried, whatever. And so maybe they're splitting hairs. You have to account for all that possibility. Further, nothing in the police files indicates there was liquid in any of the overturned cups. Police found no evidence of any fluid other than blood on the table. So this is a big thing. For those who think that the solo cups had liquid in them, and listen carefully, because the theory that Asgut Technologies or whatever it was, Asgut Industries came out with her nice three-dimensional model, was that the cups all had liquid in them. Kohberger knocked over the cups when he was chasing Xana or whatever, and that his hand then swiped through the liquid that was in those cups. But remember, there's other cups that are standing upright and they don't have liquid in them.
No.
There is no liquid there. Now, yes, somebody has shown a photo of liquid on the floor, a puddle on the floor of what looks like water. But it would be hard to explain how all the solo cups just dumped in that one area and not all over the floor in various places, but just a puddle right there in that particular area. That's my questioning. And I realize without the photos here to show you, if Amanda or anybody in our chat has the photo of the liquid spot, the water spot, I would like to examine that while we're talking about it. And I realize that's going to be hard to find in a short notice, but if you happen to find it, please let me see it. Prosecutors appear not to have questioned how Sutton, their professional analyst, arrived at this conclusion seemingly without any validating evidence. She does not mention that the closest, not the closet. She does not mention that the closest overturned cup was almost 2 feet from the nearest stain. She does not acknowledge that none of the upright cups contained liquid as police found them, or that none of the 16 objects found on the table showed any signs of blood. She does not explain why the cups, the bottle, the White Claw can, or the bowl were not tested or even seized as evidence. Don Capps says, I feel that the red Solo cups would have been knocked over if someone bumped into it in any way. The cups were set up perfectly in the one specific area on the table. Right, Don, that's the question. Can you conceive of a way that the table gets bumped and the 10 Solo cups at one end of the table are perfectly still there? Because to me, the solution has to be somebody knocked over only one side, meaning they didn't bump the table. They hit the cups on only one side of the table, leaving the other ones in place. That would be the only answer that makes, because if you hit the table, all the cups are going to be scattered.
Right.
All the cups are going to be disturbed. But half this table is fine. All right. This is just the first of many questionable assessments. She continues. Spatter stain F is on the edge of the west side of the table. Presumptive testing of stain F for blood was positive, and the stain revealed the DNA of Xana Kernodle, which later I think she has to change because it wasn't Xana, but she was told it was Xana. And that leads to the question, how much integrity do you have if you write it up and say that the DNA was Xana's, but because you were told so, not because you did any kind of testing, not because you did anything yourself, you were just told so, if that's what happened. Would that question your integrity as a forensics analyst if you're writing up the way you were told to write it up? The west side of the white folding table was closest to the brass-colored console. Photos indicate that the space between them is approximately 18 inches. The extremely elongated shape of stain F is attributable to an acute angle of incidence between the source object and the side of the beer pong table. Xana Kernodle was injured in the proximity of the table. That quote right there is Sutton's quote, not Wickham's quote. So please understand, he's quoting Sutton's report. Sutton said Xana Kernodle's blood is on the table. It should be noted that Sutton later revised parts of this and other findings in a state amended supplement disclosure, but she clearly believed that Xana was injured in proximity to the table. Anyone looking at the photos would wonder how cast-off blood could possibly have landed on the 2-inch vertical surface in the elongated pattern. Remember, Xana would have to have been fleeing her killer through the 18-inch space, shedding blood from an object in motion without disturbing any of the objects to her left or right. This seems virtually impossible, but no one seemed to care. And I'll admit, no matter how many times I read this paragraph, I can't visualize the whole thing about how it could or couldn't happen. Wickham's trying to draw a lot of attention of that crime scene cannot have happened the way that they say it did. It doesn't make logical sense, and I can't see it in my head. I wish I was good like Asgard Industries and could just create a 3D model and say, oh, now it makes sense. I can put this little figure here and show you how it works. But I'm not that kind of guy yet, or I don't have the time. Actually, I probably could if I had the time to learn the tool. All right. If the sound of butterfly wings is not yet deafening, he's mentioning the butterfly effect, where one little thing like the flap of a butterfly wing can set a whole thing in motion. If the sound of the butterfly wings is not yet deafening, remember that the beer pong table sat in the middle of the second floor. Anyone moving through that house prior to the crimes would certainly have had to pass by it. This includes Mogan and Kernodle moving from the front door to their rooms upstairs. It would include Xana and Ethan using the kitchen or the second floor bathroom or walking down the hallway to her room. It would include Dylan and Bethany and Lakeland McComas when they went upstairs to watch Vampire Diaries after partying on Saturday night in the neighboring apartments. Though police never measured the distances, Nunez's video makes it clear that the adult male officers had to turn sideways, moving between the table and the knee wall, navigating the console, or walking towards the kitchen. Based on known dimensions of similar folding tables, 71 inches by 28 inches, and the flat wooden ledge, 5 and 7 3/4 inches and 3/4 of an inch, one can estimate the clearance of no more than 18 inches. Why would anyone have placed the beer pong table in that configuration? Guests of the party on Friday night would have had great difficulty getting past it to use the bathroom. Players would have been forced to stand in the open doorway to the kitchen on one end and directly against the knee wall on the other, blocking access to the fridge and launching errant shots down the first floor. Common sense. So errant shots would have bounced. What he's saying is, if you're playing beer pong and you're bouncing a pong ball, it would have bounced over that half wall and down the stairs to the first floor. Why would somebody set up the beer pong table there where the bad bounce could go down all the way down to the first floor? What he's suggesting is the table wasn't there until after the murders, and then someone moved the beer pong table there where it doesn't make sense to be. That's what his major conclusion is. That table is not where it makes any sense.
And, that does lead, lend more credence to the beer pong table being in the kitchen, because that would be a pain in the ass to potentially have the ball keep going over that knee wall down the stairs and constantly having to retrieve it. In the kitchen, you don't have that issue.
Right. And by the way, shout out to Jody from the Defense Rest. Thank you, Jody, for coming in. Good to see you. I can't remember if I've missed you on other nights, but I see you now. I got you. I see you. Welcome. Why would anyone have placed the beer pong table in that configuration? Oh, we already covered that. Common sense makes it more likely that the players would have positioned the table 90 degrees in the middle of the wide open room. Why is any of this important? Who cares about where someone placed the table? Because police reports place it at the crossroads of the murders. Its position, as police found it, makes no sense at all. This is why I'm slowing down. This is for Wickham, this beer pong table tells so much. And I'm still, even now I'm racking my brain how Turvy says, who gives a shit about the beer pong table? And yet Turvy is like, then Wickham's like, it's all the beer pong table. That beer pong table tells you everything. What are we missing? Why are we missing this? All right, so this is going on with Sutton's report. Image ISP 4687 depicts the view looking across the beer pong table towards the bedroom assigned to Xana Kernodle. On the right side of this image, one can see a half wall with a wooden ledge and the stains leading from the second level down to the first level parking lot entrance on the north side of the residence. Near the middle of the frame, the hallway leading from the living room to the bedroom of Xana Kernodle is depicted. Right off the bat, talking about stains going down to the first level floor is it just baffles my mind that they ruled that as irrelevant to the crime scene.
Exactly.
Sutton has, and this is back to Whitcomb now. Sutton has already stated that diluted blood stains on the top surface of the table were genetically linked to Kaylee Gonzalez. The elongated blood stain along the west side of the table was genetically matched to Xana Kernodle. How is it possible that one cast-off blood stain would print on top of the table while a second somehow printed on the side? Considering the fact that both samples were determined to have been diluted with an unknown substance, sensibility starts to break down. And again, this is where I'm just racking my brain. So Wickham's trying to explain to us, like we're toddlers, how is Kaylee's blood on top of the table diluted, and Xana's blood, which again was later revised, on the side of the table. I don't know. I can't work it out. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I just don't understand. I still don't understand what we're missing. God, I just feel like I'm missing something. Wickham continues, moving away from the folding table. Sutton continues. Now this is Sutton's comments. Stain D is located on the north side of the wooden ledge of the half wall in the living room. Stain D was tested for presumptive presence of blood and was positive. Stain D is a transfer blood stain. Subsequent testing of stain D on the edge of the ledge showed a mixture of DNA, Ethan Chapin being the primary contributor. There is no physical evidence to indicate that Ethan Chapin was ever outside the bedroom after the sustaining his bloodletting injuries. So again, this is a big thing to me. Ethan Chapin's blood is outside of the room, but Ethan Chapin never left the room. So it tells you somebody had Ethan Chapin's blood on them and transferred it to the half wall. And how did they transfer it? And again, when some of Ethan Chapin's blood may be in a position that makes it look like it was going down to the first floor, there's only one person we know that went down to the first floor officially.
Right.
And that's Dylan Mortensen. So he stops Wickham, in case you missed it. Wait, Ethan? He was murdered in bed, more than 20 feet away. How did his undiluted blood end up at the top of the staircase to the first floor when the killer left through the kitchen? Inexplicably, Sutton moves on without seeming to question the evidence, or worse, what she found right next to it. Stain E on top of the wooden ledge is depicted in DSCX 4685 and DSC 4687. Stain E was tested for the presumption of presence of blood and was positive. Stain E consists of two diluted spatter stains. The shapes of those spatters show that they are traveling from the area of the living room and towards the stairwell opening. The coloration and the edge characteristics of stain E show concentrations around the outer periphery, indicative of a diluted stain. And that seems huge. What Wickham, I think, is trying to get us to focus on is Ethan's blood was on someone's body and transferred to the half wall in the direction of moving towards the first floor staircase, going down. But wait, nobody went down the first floor staircase. The killer went out the sliding glass door on the second floor. Who went down the first? So why is the blood transfer of Ethan moving in the direction as if somebody is going down to the bottom floor of that house, the first floor?
Right. And, you know, if somebody had a different type of weapon than a knife, now think about this, because the way that blood spatter is almost like if you were carrying a weapon down low and it was swinging a little, that blood could potentially kind of fling off of the weapon.
Yes.
And it wouldn't really do that from a knife necessarily, not unless you were like waving your hands around like crazy.
Right. And you know, that Maven is saying the same thing that I've been saying without saying. Dylan went down to the first floor.
Sure. And blood certainly can fly over a half wall.
Over the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But sticking on the other side of the half wall, opposite of where the blood should flow, that's a problem. And I think that's one of the stains we saw was blocked by the half wall in a place that would really, really be hard to explain how it got over the half wall at a place where the half wall would have blocked the flying blood coming from there. And we don't have the picture to show you, but.
And it would be hard to get it from a certain distance. It would have to be flung very hard to get it over that knee wall without someone actually going down those stairs.
Then Wickham continues. As mentioned in the last chapter, this is the stain that was discovered under the 12-pack of White Claw hard seltzers. No one in law enforcement ever asks or explains how it ended up under a box. And this is the part that I keep beating. If Ethan's blood is under the White Claw box, there is no way to say that's not a problem. Because someone then placed the White Claw box on top of Ethan's blood stain. And what killer decided he had time to move the White Claw box and put it over top of where they transferred blood of none of that makes sense. It doesn't make any sense.
But what does make sense is if you are cleaning up something, you tend to move things out of the way.
Yes.
So did the White Claw box have blood on the bottom of it and somebody put it up on top of the knee wall while they were mopping up blood in the rest of the common area?
Yeah, it's a great point. If somebody was cleaning up and they just moved the box out of the way to wipe something down, maybe they didn't think about the fact that they're transferring blood from one place to another place and didn't think about, because I don't care how good you are, you're going to make mistakes in that cleanup. And I think mistakes were made in the cleanup.
Yeah.
Moving east, Sutton writes in her report, 3 areas of staining are noted in the stairwell between the second level and the first level. Between the second level and the first level. So this is going down to the first floor. And 3 areas of staining are noted on the stairwell leading down to the first floor. No killer went down to the first floor. Only one killer, they said, went out the back door on the second floor, and he never went to the front door. So who's going down to the first floor covered with Ethan's blood or throwing cast off of Ethan's blood, going down the staircase to the first floor? On the north wall, these stains are labeled as 23 and 24 and stains 27 in the area located above the steps. Like so many other supposed blood transfers found in the common areas of the house, they are difficult to see in photos released by Moscow PD. They look nothing like blood spatter found in Maddie's or Xana's rooms. Stain 23, 24, and 27 were tested for presumptive presence of blood and were positive, so they were blood. The location and distribution of stains 23, 24, and 27, this is Sutton's report, are consistent with the cast-off mechanism, while their physical appearance is consistent with diluted blood. Cast-off is created when blood is released as a result of bloodied object in motion. Now, again, I want you to think about something. Those stains on the other side of the half wall leading down to the first floor are diluted. So let's walk back for a second, Robin, and see if I can make this make sense. If Asgut Industries is right and Kohberger swiped his hand through beer pong cups, got liquid on his hand, and that caused the diluted stains on the half wall, on this side of the half wall, how did Ethan's blood get on the other side? Because Ethan wasn't killed yet.
Right.
Ethan wasn't killed yet. He was killed inside Xana's room. So how did the swiping his hand through a bunch of liquid explain the diluted blood on the other side of the half wall? Because he hadn't even been killed yet.
Right. Because we know that was not, according to several different sources, that was not the order of operation, essentially. That was not the order in which they were killed.
And somebody asked a good question we have to consider. Maybe Hunter Johnson has something to do with transferring. Well, let's think this through for a minute. Hunter Johnson did come in. Hunter Johnson at one point said he checked for a pulse. So would he have touched a bloody body at that point? But he checked for a pulse on Xana, if I recall.
Right.
So he would have
Ethan.
Xana's blood on his hand, not Ethan. So as I walk that through, I don't see any scenario in which Hunter has Ethan's blood on his hand.
And even if he had, even so, Xana's blood wouldn't be diluted either at that point. If you check for someone's pulse, and you get your hand in blood, it's not going to be diluted. What I would want to know is why didn't they test to tell us what it was diluted with?
And Happy, here's a point with this. Was Hunter Johnson's DNA fan? Here's the problem. That was a party house. The unknown, the unsaid thing is a whole fucking ton of people's DNA is in those rooms.
Right.
People partied in that house. Hunter was a regular visitor of the house. Hunter's DNA is probably all over that house. Jack DeCour, having dated Kaylee's, his DNA is all over that house. So when you ask, well, wait a minute, aren't other people's DNA is all over the house, but they consider it to be irrelevant because they're not the suspects. But I guarantee you their DNA is all over the crime scene.
Right. And this is a good point from 1-1.
Where are Hunter's footprints?
Right. If he went in and actually touched Xana, we know that room was a bloody mess. And I don't mean to be graphic, but that's exactly what it was. Where are Hunter's footprints back out from that room?
Yeah. Or the ridiculousness of Cy Ray saying that the killer was flat-footed when killing both Xana and Ethan, and that explains why he doesn't leave any footprints in the blood of them, because he somehow was flat-footed during the entire killing of both of them, never moved a foot, and therefore no blood. His footprint wasn't in blood because the blood just went around his foot. There would be the shape of an empty space where the foot was at, and there's not. So Cy Ray's theory just seems asinine, even to somebody who's just basically thinking through it.
It is asinine because the bottom of a sneaker doesn't care what your foot is like on the inside of it.
Right.
A sole is a sole. The tread is the tread. No matter how flat-footed, whether you have a super high arch on the inside of the shoe, it doesn't matter.
All right. So after reading, I agree. I mean, the whole thing is his statements were one of the most asinine statements I've seen. According to the prosecution, this is back to Wickham's statement. According to the prosecution, this bloodied object in motion, according to Sutton, would have to be the K-bar knife, because they always said we still to this day at the sentencing, when they gave a press conference and somebody asked them, "Hey, wait a minute, Steve Gonzalez is outside the courthouse saying that there was more than one weapon used. What was the other weapon?" They all looked at each other and said, "We're still going to maintain it was one weapon." So if you're going to still maintain it's one weapon, then it has to be the K-bar knife that's causing all this cast off. The K-bar knife full of blood is what's being swung around. It's the only weapon, as Wickham says, that's ever cited or described. They've never said what another object was. So this is from Sutton's report again. The appearance of blood stains revealed that the blood has been diluted by another liquid. DNA testing of stains from the north wall of the stairwell shows a mixture of DNA. Kaylee Gonzalez matches the major components. Madison Mogan is a potential contributor to the minor components. And this is where Wickham loses his mind repeating the statements. Everything in the common area is diluted blood. Everything is showing signs of being diluted with an unknown substance.
Right.
And he's asking you to wake the fuck up. There's no explanation how everything in the common room is diluted with an unknown substance other than a cleanup. And Sutton opines, well, it could have been Xana Kernodle's saliva or snot. No, it couldn't. That defies all logic. So every bit of blood in the common room is mixed with Xana's saliva when she died in her bedroom and never left the bedroom. How does that happen? None of it makes any fucking sense.
No.
And this is why I think Wickham keeps saying, why aren't we making a bigger deal out of the fact that everything in the main room, the common area, is diluted? Somebody cleaned up the main common area. And the other $1 million question for me that I think we all need to figure out is, why did someone need to cover up the main room? Why? Right? Why not just leave it as it is?
Right.
And the only reason I can think of is they didn't want you to know that there was more than one killer in the house.
Right. And this is why I'm saying it matters what it was diluted with. Was it some type of cleaning agent?
Yeah.
Or
was it bleach?
Whatever?
Was it bleach water?
Right.
Was it vinegar? What was the solution? Just unknown,
Was it
unknown
Mr.
dilution
Clean?
liquid. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. There are ways to test for that.
All right, continuing on. Wickham prefaces this thing, moving towards the front wall facing the staircase. Sutton focuses on the open space leading down to the first floor. So again, there's transfer stains of Ethan's blood moving in the direction of the staircase leading down to the first floor. The first floor whose door was wide open, according to people who walked by the house that morning. The front door was wide open, but then Hunter says he came over and he had to open the door. Was the door open or was the door not open? Witnesses going by said the door was open. Did somebody leave out that door on the first floor? According to Sutton, stain 26, which is one of those stains of Ethan's or whatever. Was it Ethan's? Yeah, I think so. It was. Stain 26 on the half wall of the second floor living room at the end of the beer pong table is depicted in image DSC 4886 and DSC 4685. Stain 26 was tested for the presumption presence of blood and was positive. Stain 26 is diluted cast off with associated flow stains. The appearance of the blood stains reveal that blood has been diluted by another liquid. So again, over and over and over again, Sutton's report says all these stains are diluted blood stains. Make sense of that.
If you are cleaning, okay, this is just bear with me a second. If you're cleaning and you are dunking something in a bucket of, like, let's say Mr. Clean Water, whatever it is, you could potentially, when you pull out your sponge or rag or whatever, that could potentially, the water's bloody maybe, and you pull it out of there, it could fling water elsewhere.
Cat's Mojo is reminding me that she sent me several photos. I get a lot of stuff from Cat's Mojo, and Cat's Mojo, thank you so much. Don't stop sending all the shit that you're sending. It's been great. I need to pull this off the screen for just a moment to look because I don't want to share my screen and show somebody something that they have to get therapy for. So give me a second.
Yeah, we don't want that, DA.
I know. Okay, here's the photos. Oh. Okay. Holy crap. Okay, hold on.
Holding.
I need to save these because I don't want to make sure that I show somebody's private conversation. So hold on. Save this photo. And then go and save this. Oh shit. Where do I want to save it? I want to save it right here. Oh God. I know I'm going to make one of these nights I'm going to make a mistake.
This is a good question from who died and made you Mike Patton. Okay. Did they look for people buying a lot of cleaning supplies, like buying a lot of bleach, or probably not, because in their mind it was
there's no need to. They know what happened. They know what happened.
Why do your job when you know who did it? I mean,
right.
Geez.
They were not looking for something more complex to explain anything.
No.
Okay, so there's that picture. There's that picture, and there's that picture. Okay, I think I can show this now. So thank you, Cat's Mojo, for giving these things. These are some pictures. Here is very, very clearly the White Claw box. And you know what?
Yep.
It almost does look like a little staining down here, but maybe that's my imagination.
No, I think it does look like that. What's that blue thing?
That's the popcorn bowl.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there was a popcorn bowl. There was a Corona light on the table. Remember, he said, here's the beer pong table with the cups. And this, and I'm going to show you another image, is the gap that they're talking about, that the officers had to turn their hips to get through here to go back to the crime scene back here where Ethan and Xana are at. I don't know enough about the red claw box. Is that red on all red claw boxes right there? Or is all this red part of a regular white claw box?
I don't know.
And there's one more image to show. So by the way, somebody was asking before about Ethan's blood and could it have flung over the half wall. Some of the blood is right. I mean, it's on the other, it's really close to over here on the other side of this wall. Really hard to explain if cast off going all the way to the back wall. Sure, maybe. But
yeah, it does
where the half wall's blocking it.
It does look like they're on a typical white claw box. It does look like there is some red.
Okay, so that's just normal coloration of the white claw box.
Yeah.
But anyways, the key point is this white claw box, according to Sutton, is on top of blood of Ethan Chapin. And that makes no sense. Blood from this room back here that's redacted didn't fly all the way out here and somehow fly underneath this box.
Right.
Somebody moved the box after the blood of Ethan Chapin was transferred to that place.
Yeah.
All right. This is Thursday, right, Robin?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. I saw you asking if I was doing the Beyond show. I'm like, that's tomorrow.
Yeah. No, not tonight.
Okay. All right. Let's get this off the screen and let's put back the book and let's continue as far as we can get into this. All right. As we will see, no diluted bloodstains were found anywhere in Maddie's room or Xana's. They were found only in the common areas of the house, specifically the second floor. This is a big, big deal that Wickham keeps making out. If Sutton wants to say that possibly the dilution of those samples out there was possibly saliva of Xana, why is there nothing diluted at all in Xana's room where Xana's actually at? How did her spit just happen to get all over the murder weapon after he leaves the room? It makes no sense whatsoever. So this is continuing with Sutton's report. Flow stains, as demonstrated in stain 26, shows the presence of a mixture of DNA. Kaylee Gonzalez matches the majority component. Madison Mogan is a potential contributor of the minor component. There is no physical evidence to indicate that Kaylee Gonzalez or Madison Mogan was in this location after sustaining their bloodletting injuries. And we know this. Sutton said, the girls never left the bed. They died in the bed and they never left the bed. So presumably any blood of Kaylee's down on the main floor has to be because the killer is covered in Kaylee's blood after having killed her and came down and transferred her blood down below. But then why all diluted and wiped down? From there, Sutton moves to the south-facing knee wall at the end of the table. This is where photos show 10 red solo cups standing upright in the beer pong formation. Stains V and W were tested for presumptive presence of blood and were positive. Stains V and W represent a second area of diluted cast-off stains with associated flow. The appearance of the blood stains reveal that the blood has been diluted by another liquid. The flow patterns are the result of gravitational attraction. There is no physical evidence to indicate that Mrs. Gonzalez, Miss Mogan, or Miss Knodel, or Mr. Chapin were in this location after sustaining their bloodletting injuries. Now Wickham is going to explain what that means. Had police or Sutton purchased a white folding table, 10 solo cups, and a small amount of liquid with viscosity similar to blood, they might quickly have found that the 18-inch gap is far too narrow to reconcile the table's position with what they know about the crimes. It seems to have been virtually impossible for an assailant to cast liquid blood against the knee wall from the far end of the beer pong table without hitting the cups, the wooden ledge atop the knee wall, or the floor. Trajectories simply do not match. Gravity does not lie. Now, again, I'm not a crime scene recreationist, but Wickham has seen a lot of crime scenes. And he's saying it doesn't match. Oh my God, there's a cat climbing up on my computer. Now she's going to, no, hold on. This cat's going to turn all my computers off here. Hold on.
Oh no. That's not the kind of crime cat that you
now
want.
Now she's behind my monitors and almost knocked my camera off. And when she gets back there, then she unplugs my monitors and sometimes walks across my computer and turns it off. So if I go dark in the middle of this, it's because my effing cat has decided she wants to be in the show. All right. So anyways, this does not seem to ring any alarm bells, but there's more. Image DCS 4704 depicts the stains identified on the baseboards in the hallway between the living room area and the second floor and the bedroom assigned to Xana Kernodle. On the left side of the hallway are stains G and H, and on the right side hallway is stain I. That's all from Sutton's report. Wickham continues. Though somewhat confusing, Sutton's report documents the presence of cast-off blood spatter on baseboard molding approximately 2 inches above the hardwood floor. And then Sutton's report continues. Stain G, H, and I were tested for the presumptive presence of blood and were positive. The physical appearance of stains G, H, and I is consistent with diluted blood. So now the blood down on the baseboard's diluted. Why is everything diluted? Diluted blood is the result of intermixing of blood with another liquid. That's what Sutton said. So now Whitcomb comes in. Xana was likely bleeding profusely at this point. Her blood, as well as the blood from Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, etc., was found on horizontal and vertical surfaces throughout the common areas of the second floor, yet not a single drop was found on the floor itself. So how is this? I'm not a recreationist, so it's confusing. Sutton's report does not mention it. So Sutton doesn't deal with the fact, why is Xana's blood not all over the floor? When the killer comes out after killing Xana, why is her blood not dripping all over the floor? Why just Kaylee and Maddie's blood? Why just Ethan's blood? Where's Xana's blood dripping all over the floor? That's a question I have to ask.
I wonder if somehow, some way, and I'm wondering if Chris is trying to tell us that the order they're trying to tell us things happened in is not correct.
Yes. And I think Turvy was doing the same thing.
Yes.
The order in which people have been killed do not make sense.
No.
That's not what the evidence shows.
No. To me, I think that Xana and Ethan were killed first. Because common sense tells you take out the biggest threat. Ethan, once it was discovered that Ethan was there, he would have been the bigger threat.
Yeah. Unless, like the official story says, they didn't know Ethan was there. Because remember, Ethan doesn't live there. So if the killer had no idea that Ethan was going to be there, because he doesn't live there, maybe the killer didn't even know anybody in the house. But the point being is that one could say, well, yes, if the killers knew Ethan was there, they would probably want to take, you're right, logically, they want to take out the biggest guy first, the real threat, the biggest threat in the house, not the only threat. Because as Wickham says, anyone fighting back for their life puts up a hell of a fight. People want to live, and people get superhuman strength when they're fighting for their life. And that's male or female. If someone's trying to kill you, you get really fucking strong, really fucking quick. So, but yes, you're right. Logic would tell you you'd go after the biggest target first. But did they know Ethan was even in the house? Because he was just a sleepover boyfriend that wasn't even supposed to be there.
Okay, let's examine something here real quick. Cy said that he believes, because of cast evidence that he saw and cell phone evidence and everything, that Brian's phone interacts sort of with the phones of several people in that household. Now, if that's true, Brian Kohberger knew who Ethan was. And Brian Kohberger would have known that Ethan was Xana's boyfriend. And he would have also seen Ethan in and out of that house a lot.
Right.
If that's true.
Right. So, if that's true. I highly doubt it's true. But
I say if. So
I agree.
Again, so if Brian was, the culprit, which I don't believe, or a part of things or whatever, Brian would have known that you take out the biggest threat, not the only, but the biggest. And I
would say a little differently, which is the killer. Any killer who knew that Ethan might be there would know that he's the one. It doesn't necessarily mean Kohberger, but yes, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
but but I'm saying from Cy's point of view, because he has stated unequivocally that he believes that Brian is guilty. So for if that's what he's stating, then why wouldn't Brian do that? Brian would have known who Ethan was. And so, but I believe that whoever did this, that would have been logically their thinking.
Do you remember the toxicology? I know we need to get back to the book while we have time, but do you remember the toxicology? Wasn't Ethan more on amphetamines than he was on alcohol? Wasn't he?
Yes.
Wasn't, which would have suggested that he was more amped up than passed out drunk.
Exactly. Yeah. Because
and I don't know if I'm remembering that right, but it seemed like he had less alcohol in his system and more of and he was more likely.
Yes. And Xana was the opposite. And Xana had more alcohol and less of the Adderall. So
all right, let's continue as much as we can pull off here. Sudd's report does not mention it. Stain 28 is depicted in image DSC 4443 and is in closer detail in image DSC 4445. I'm sure there's a typo in that number. On the north side of the hallway between the living room and the bedroom of Xana Kernodle. Stain 28 gave a positive presumptive test for blood. Stain 28 is a swipe stain. Stain 28 appears dark in color and not diluted. An undiluted swipe stain indicates that a bloodied object or surface made contact with this wall while in motion. God, I'm slowing the fuck down. So there is an undiluted stain there. Where was 26, 27, and 28 were Ethan's blood, weren't they, or not? Anyways, let's continue. This is important. This is an undiluted part. Without drawing conclusions or getting lost in the weeds, this is Wickham, we need to compare what Sutton wrote in her report with what Officer Talbot stated on December 6th in his report. Talbot observed, as you go up the stairs to the second floor, so he's on the first floor, as you go up the stairs to the second floor, you enter a small living room area. There was a folding table set up on the west side of the area, partially blocking the entry to the west hallway. The table had, and there's some ellipsis for things missing, multiple areas of red liquid on the table that appeared to be blood. According to Sutton, the blood spatters were diluted, dried, and faint. Talbot continues in his report. As I walked west from the living room, there was a half wall to my right. I could see multiple drops and runs of red liquid along the entire half wall. Sutton, according to Wickham, noted no drops of any kind, nothing obviously red. Yet Talbot reported in his report, across the half wall, I saw more red stains on the wall above the first and second floor staircase. The stains and liquid were consistent with cast off and appeared to be blood. But Wickham says photographs dispute this. So he then quotes again, I don't know if it's Talbot's report, right? It's got to be Talbot's. Continuing west down the hallway, there was a bathroom to the left with the hallway ending at the bedroom. On the north wall of the hallway, near the bedroom door, there appeared to be a red-colored transfer mark at approximately my shoulder height. Oh, yeah, that was this. We showed that stain in the pictures the other night with that red streak that was going and it had a little hook at the end by a bathroom. Yes. That was on the way to Xana and Ethan's room. And this would be the exact spot where Bill Thompson's prosecution narrative and virtually everything the media has reported comes to a screeching halt. Anyone looking at the threshold to Xana's room will immediately notice that spatter found inside and spatter found outside look dramatically different. Where the floor inside her room is covered in blood, the floor outside is completely clean. This contrast screams contradiction. Mm-hmm. How is it possible that virtually all the bloodstains found in the common area of the second floor are diluted with an unknown substance, while all those found in Maddie's room and Xana's room were not? How did the killer slay Kaylee, Maddie on the third floor and then track their blood downstairs to the second, where it mysteriously became diluted? Conversely, how did Xana's blood start out diluted on the beer pong table only to become whole by the time she got to her room? How did Ethan Chapin's undiluted blood end up on the knee wall at the top of the stairs to the first floor if he never left his room? And these are all great questions, with the minor exception of Xana's blood, because, again, was Xana's blood ruled out to not be on the beer pong table and it was Kaylee's only? That's the only part. And I get why people question whether or not Whitcomb got that right, whether Xana's blood was on the beer pong table or not. How you doing, Robin?
All right. It's just crazy, but I'm glad we're going back through this because it is bringing more potential theories to mind, and we're getting now why Chris keeps going back to this.
Right. Because things don't add up, and because things don't add up, that suggests something else happened in the hours after the victims were killed, where somebody cleaned up spots, diluted spots, wiped stuff down, and tried to clean up because of some reason. It would explain why, according to Rogue Knox, it would explain why they won't say when Ethan and Xana got there. Yeah. It's still a mystery to this day. It's kind of vague. Sometime around 2 a.m., everyone's back at the house, according to Dylan.
Right.
Pretty much happened around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Pretty much is a word. I get it. She uses it a lot, but isn't pretty much a word that allows you some leeway if somebody ever catches you in a lie. Well, it was pretty much around that time. Well, wasn't it actually an hour earlier? Well, okay, maybe. Like I said, it was pretty much. I didn't say it happened at 4. I said it was pretty much around 4 a.m. Isn't that the way you say something if you know you might be questioned on the timeline? Well, it was pretty much around this time.
Sure.
As we will soon discover, these were just the first whispers of doubt. On January 10, 2023, Moscow Police Department lead detective Brett Payne filed a report documenting the interview of Molly McMichael regarding a DoorDash delivery made to 1122 King Road in the early morning hours of November 13th. The text of Dr. Payne's, or not doctor. Why do I call everybody a doctor? Fucking Payne's not a doctor. Wickham's not a doctor. Fucking, I got it. I'm going to call myself Dr. Farrell because I think I should be a doctor. The text of Detective Payne's report is here transcribed verbatim. So let's read it. Okay. On November 23rd, 2022, at approximately 20:39 hours. So that's what, just before, like 10 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. What the fuck is that? I'm trying to do the subtraction of the math. Anyways, Molly McMichael came to Moscow Police Department to be interviewed about her presence in the area of 1122 King Road during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. McMichael was identified as being in the area through records obtained from DoorDash. By the way, how come we still haven't seen the records for DoorDash? People have requested these public records for forever. Has anybody ever seen the DoorDash record showing that she was driving right then and delivered to the house? Because it feels like we have never found this.
I don't think we have. If anybody out there has this, please let us know. And thank you for the jewels. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Through records obtained from DoorDash via a search warrant, and was confirmed as being in the area based off of Google geofence warrant, which was obtained as a result of this investigation. I was accompanied by FBI Special Agent Alex Skelton during this interview. McMichael told me that she worked for 12 to 18 hours on the night of November 12th to the 13th and received 3 orders in the King Road, Queen Road area. 2 of the orders were at 500 Queen Road apartment complex, which is immediately to the east of 1122 King Road. And I believe that's the Queen apartments. The two apartments that are kind of yellowish in color with the walkway right between it that dumps into the backyard, the back door of 1122. That's the Queen apartments, I believe. So 2 of her orders that night, Molly McMichael said, went to the Queen apartments, where Showalter lives, by the way. Right?
Right.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about Showalter living in the Queen apartments. McMichael said that the delivery at 1122 King Road was her final order for the evening, and McMichael said she could not find the 1122 King Road address, as the address number was hidden by the porch light, which caused her to remain in the area for approximately 15 minutes. Oh, so you mean Molly McMichael's car is going around in circles, circling the neighborhood just before the murders? Is that what you're saying, by the way? I find that funny. we seem to not point out that Molly McMichael said that she was driving in circles around the neighborhood trying to find the house. At the same time, suspect vehicle 1 is supposedly driving around in circles around trying to find the house. McMichael also stated that her Google Maps told her to go to the parking lot immediately behind 1122 King Road. And I've told people before, the house used to have a different front door. They added another story onto it. Google Maps took her to the back side of the house to deliver the food. McMichael stated that she initially parked in front of 1122 King Road and she could see a This is huge. This has always been the huge statement. McMichael, the DoorDash delivery person who has a sketchy fucking history, stated that she initially parked in the front of 1122 and could see a female in the top left window, the third-story bathroom. McMichael said she saw the same female a couple more times in the same window, and she would duck down when McMichael looked at her. Think this through. There's a female suspect. So say it's the victim. Say it's a victim. Xana's up there in the bathroom and doesn't want to be seen by Molly McMichael outside. Kaylee's in the bathroom and doesn't want to be seen by Molly McMichael outside.
No.
Make any sense? Somebody ducking down not to be seen by the DoorDash driver outside is somebody who has a reason to not be seen in the house.
And how long was she looking at this window? I mean, to repeatedly see someone ducking down, you would have to be standing there at least a minute or two, you know. And why wouldn't you holler up to the person, "Hey, I see you"? I mean, you know, come get your DoorDash.
I agree, Linda. It seems plausible that the person looking out there is a lookout, making sure that nobody's around. And then when they they want to not be seen. Somebody didn't want to. Some female, if Molly, let's be clear, Molly McMichael's credibility is kind of shitty. So are we going to believe her when we want to believe her and not believe her when we don't believe her? But Molly McMichael says she saw a female ducking down in the window in the upstairs bedroom. That could be an accomplice to murder. In fact, many people have stated that the killings seem to be a jealous girlfriend kind of thing, a jealous woman, somebody who was jealous at Kaylee and wanted to get back at her for something. So was a female involved in the murders? And was that somebody that was up there in that room that Molly saw? It hardly ever gets talked about. It's a huge deal. Explain who's ducking down.
Yeah. And Terry Dawn, this is a good comment. Molly said that it didn't look like any of the victims.
Because I think she had dark hair.
Yeah. Well, now
Xana has dark hair. Yeah.
Right. But Xana was not up in that bathroom. So
it depends on whose story you want to listen to. Because
this is true. That's true. But she said it didn't look like anyone. So I don't know.
Molly McMichael then said that she drove to the back parking lot behind 1122 King Road and parked. She stated that she could see back courtyard area behind the house and noticed all the lights were on. McMichael stated her map told her to walk to the back of the house, but she did not feel comfortable doing so because there was no path. McMichael said that she started to walk down the road, which runs north-south immediately to the east of the residence. And McMichael stated a tan sedan drove next to her while she was walking. And that, I believe, was a police officer. Tesdale, Rosendahl, maybe, or somebody else. Tan is also not the car of Kohberger's. But remember, when Molly McMichael gets arrested later on, she says, "Yeah, I've got to go testify in Idaho I parked right next to Kohberger." Really?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is you parking right next to Kohberger in the back of the parking lot? She changed that shit because they wanted a ringer. They wanted a ringer to say, "You saw Kohberger there. We can't place Kohberger in the house, so say you saw him there. Say you saw him there." I saw Kohberger sitting right next to me in the car. No, it wasn't in your fucking initial report. You didn't see, I keep saying this all the time. You didn't see shit. Molly McMichael did not see Kohberger at the house.
Nope.
It wasn't in the report. They added that later because they needed a ringer to say that he was there. McMichael said there was a male driver and noticed he did not look at me. She said he looked completely zoned and just drove by her. McMichael later stated the driver was white with blonde or red spiky hair. Does Kohberger in any stretch of your fucking imagination have red spiky hair?
No.
McMichael also said that she noticed the dome light in the car was on when it went by, and later told me the male was wearing a light colored collared shirt. So the person was lit up. The driver in the car was lit up. She could see him, and it wasn't Kohberger. When the fuck did she come up with, "I sat right next to Kohberger in the back of the house"? That statement should make people explode. Why would she say she parked next to Kohberger behind the house? Bullshit. None of this has anything to do with that. McMichael stated she walked back to her car and drove back to the front of the 1122 King Road, at which point she saw the address number. And McMichael said she placed the order on the front door, took a picture, and left approximately at 4. So again, all of this, in no point does Molly McMichael ever say she saw Brian Kohberger sitting behind that she sat in the parking lot with behind the house. Why the fuck do we allow her to say that she was sitting next to Kohberger in the back parking lot?
Right.
Go ahead.
And I also don't think that she saw Tisdall, because I'd like to know what Tisdall was wearing that night then. She said the guy was in a shirt. Did he have a jacket on?
The dome light was on. She saw the color of his hair and she saw what clothes he was wearing. None of it matches Kohberger. None of it matches Kohberger.
No.
Unless Kohberger was in the back seat of the car and somebody else was driving, and then you've got another problem because there's more than one accomplice.
Right.
During the time McMichael was in the area of in the King Road residence, the white Elantra can be seen via the 1112 King Road camera driving back and forth on Willenta Drive and then entering the King Road, Queen Road loop at approximately 3:56. So she left at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you can see supposedly suspect vehicle 1 driving around at 3:56, 4 minutes before she's leaving. At the point that McMichael pulled into the front parking lot before she dropped the order off, the white Elantra pulled in behind McMichael's vehicle, a gray Subaru Forester, and then exited the King Road at approximately 3:58. McMichael did not mention seeing the white Elantra behind her at any time. But again, her statement later becomes, I saw Kohberger, I was parked right next to him.
Right. And Rogue Knox says that Tisdall was wearing a black hoodie. It's on the body cam. So if he's wearing a black hoodie, he's not wearing a white collared shirt.
Right. So it's not Tisdall that she saw. But people say it was Tisdall because of the red spiky hair.
Yeah. Well, unless he took his hoodie off and he was wearing a shirt with a collar, like a dress shirt.
Right. There's that possibility. He could have taken his coat off. Maybe the car was warm and hot, and like I do. When I step outside, I put my coat on. When I step back in a hot car, I take my coat off because it's hot in the car.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't think she saw Tisdale though, but that's just me.
I continued to question McMichael about her time near the residence, and she told me she walked down Queen Road at one point with her flashlight out. McMichael can be seen doing so on the footage from 1112 King Road. McMichael also continued to tell me that the female she saw in the upstairs bedroom window would duck down when McMichael looked at her. McMichael described her as having long brown hair. McMichael stated that she could not identify the girl as one of the victims. So McMichael presumably was shown a picture of Xana. It doesn't say it specifically, but I'm guessing they said, hey, do any of these girls, like, here's a picture of Xana. Does that match the girl you saw upstairs? And she couldn't identify them. Now, does that mean definitively it wasn't Xana? Not necessarily, but you would think if it was close, wouldn't she have said, well, maybe that kind of looks like who I saw up there. So it could have been, but she said no. So she's kind of ruling Xana out, which is the only victim that has dark hair.
Right.
But Molly McMichaels knows it's the female, and she knows it's the female that has dark hair, and she can't say it's Xana Kernodle. All right, where do we wrap up for the night? We're going long again. We always go long. Where do we wrap up? That's
up to you.
Where we're at right now. Let me ask questions from the audience. Do you guys have questions, concerns? I mean, while you're looking for questions real quick. So put your questions in. Robin will tell me. I'm just going to scroll. We're on page 98. Because I'm a wordy bastard, I got a lot more to go. We'd have to go that far to page 103 to get through the chapter. So I suck. I talk too much.
No, you don't. These are all good questions.
I mean, it's a good conversation, yes, but I mean, I can't get through 10 pages quickly, especially when there's so many nuggets. There's so many nuggets.
Right.
Tisdale ratted himself out in report 10. I'd have to see what you're talking about on that one. Yeah. Big Mikey. Right. Many people have said that they think it was Emma Bailey. Can you prove that? Absolutely not. But many people think that. All right, let's call it here for now because it's been long. And thank you. Somebody said good reading, Lee. So that was good. Thank you. Reading is, I've never been a public reader, so it's weird doing public reading because I usually suck at public reading, but we did all right tonight. What about Lakeland? Who knows who was there? Yeah, I don't know. A lot of suspects. And as Christopher Wickham said, in the chapter they removed from the book, there was a lot of people that he talked about that were suspects that he had interesting stories.
Real quick, I'd like to know what it is that Rogue Knox thinks that we're ignoring. Something about Report 10.
I read that. I read Report 10 and said I'd have to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't, unfortunately, I can't just pull up out of my ass Report 10 because I don't know what Report 10 means.
We'll have to read it and get back to you about that.
I'm looking for last minute comments, questions, concerns. Thank you all, by the way, for everybody who came here tonight to listen to us do another reading. We're still hunting. Hey, as the Custody Queen says, if I find the mystery of the second floor thing, they'll give us a good donation. So we got to work our ass off to get that donation from the Custody Queens. we got to be the one that finds what we've been missing this whole time. I meant everyone else. LOL. 1-1 read it. Oh, 1-1 read the Report 10. Is that what she's saying? 1-1 read Report 10.
I think so.
I don't even remember it. Who did Chris told you that it surprised you? No. I think the second floor was all staged. And that's what Wickham is suggesting. The second floor was all staged, which leads to the question, why?
Right.
I wish I could tell you more. There's something more. I hate teasing shit. I really don't like to tease, but I do know something more. And I feel like when it becomes public, or if it becomes public, I'll be all over telling you. Remember that night that I said that I could tell you more? But I have to also wait. I'm not going to get myself sued, nor am I going to get somebody else sued by going early on something. That's a quick route to have nobody ever trust you again with inside information. Lee asked Sue, you all do a reading on the second floor. Yeah, I know that Sue is one of these nights. She's going to come on our Friday night show again with us again. And I'll probably go with her on Sunday. Maybe we'll talk about it on Sunday. All right. Any last parting thoughts, Robin?
No, this has just been a really great look back, and really going through it, thoroughly is important. So, and we'll continue going through the rest of it, this chapter as well. So, I think this has been really good.
Cat Lover, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Every little bit helps, especially during this time. Right now, YouTube's a little slow for us because the back to school time and all that shit like that. And so we're kind of like, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it very much.
All right. That's it for us for tonight. Tomorrow night is Friday Night Fuckery. We get a little looser. Is that possible? Like, I don't know if it's possible to get a little looser. But anyways, tomorrow night usually is a little bit off the rails in some way. Followed later, we'll probably do a Beyond channel, which is my alternate channel for paranormals. But that I don't have anything planned for that yet. So trying to decide if those are really paying off. There's not a lot of people show up to the Beyond channel yet, but we're working on that. And then again, Saturday we'll have Crimes After Dark as well. Sunday I may be on with Sue from Revelation Tarot on her show at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So just keep paying attention to the show, like, subscribe, put the notification bell on, all that good shit. Robin, I'm hoping you're enjoying your new job that you got, and we're eager to get 1-1 back soon. And let's kick this shit into new. And thanks to all the mods out there, Essie, Amanda. She had a big power outage recently, and we missed her for a couple days. And so we're getting the band back together slowly but surely. So take it easy, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night. Take care, guys.